Welcome. Today we're going to talk about what's new in Revit 22. Just a few things before we get started. If you do have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box on the GoToWebinar control panel, not the chat panel. So you've got the chat panel and the question box. Type your questions into the question box. We might answer some of those as we go, but we'll definitely have time at the end as well. Also, a recorded version of this webinar will be available on our website and YouTube channel within a couple of days. You'll receive an email with the link when that is available. Okay, so before we really jump into the webinar, I want to introduce myself and my company. So to give you an idea of what gives me the right to present to you today, my name is Ashley Tisue. I'm a solutions specialist focusing in architecture with over 17 years of experience with Revit. The bulk of those years were in the Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, and San Francisco metro areas. My expert knowledge of BIM software, including Revit and Navisworks, is used in assisting organizations with implementing building information modeling technologies and processes into their design workflows on projects ranging from single-family homes to international theme parks to skyscrapers in urban campus redevelopments. And about my company, Microdesk. So Microdesk was founded in 1994 as an Autodesk reseller with a simple mission: to assist architecture, engineering, construction, owners, and GIS firms in improving workflows and integrating project delivery technologies. It's now over 25 years later, and that mission still holds true. Microdesk is a well-established AECO consulting firm with 13 offices in the US and UK. We've got over 230 AECO consultants, solution specialists, and software developers that can help in all sectors, all disciplines, and across all project stages. Some of the hottest and most crucial topics in the AEC world today are globalization, urbanization, and sustainability. Urbanization studies suggest that the US will build 114 cities the size of Boston in the next 30 years. And here at Microdesk, we can help to make sure you are prepared to meet those demands. We use software from industry leaders and combine it with our vision and passion for sustainability to meet the demands of urbanization. Our team of industry expert consultants are redefining project delivery and asset management. And what we do, we are committed to helping clients realize the business benefits of BIM quickly and economically by facilitating the use of innovative technologies and processes. Whether it's streamlining your design, construction, or operations, our consulting team is the nation's largest and most experienced group of AECO technology consulting professionals. Microdesk's clients represent some of the nation's largest and most respected organizations in public agencies, including the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Denver Airport, Robert A.M. Stern, and Columbia University, just to name a few. And to help support the industry with these demands of urbanization, we provide full service consulting. This includes building information modeling services, enterprise strategy and workflow assessments, technology management, mentoring and support, application development, and much, much more. And finally, we partner with world leaders, such as Autodesk, of course, IBM, to utilize innovative technologies and methodologies to empower sustainable design and overcome local challenges. Our vision is to reduce the environmental impact of urbanization by helping the AECO industry to design, construct, and operate better projects more efficiently by leveraging the full potential of BIM, VDC, and asset management. All right, so what is new in 22? Here's a little teaser of what we're going to discuss today before I jump into Revit to do the more in-depth demo. I'll highlight the new tools to facilitate enhanced modeling, elements such as tapered walls. We'll talk about tools that provide more flexibility in project documentation, such as those that provide better results when scheduling. Other tools will help us communicate more efficiently with our project team. Hello, native PDF exporter. That's pretty exciting, actually. And still more tools might appear small upon first glance, yet actually provide a large impact in just a more enjoyable day-to-day experience in the software. So, as I mentioned, my area of expertise is architecture. So I won't be delving into some of the MEP and structure specific new features. However, 95 to 99% of what I will be discussing can be of benefit to everyone working in Revit, regardless of your discipline. Okay. All right, so let's get into this. All right, so I'll pull Revit here. Give that a minute. All right. Okay, so got Revit 2022 here. I will be working in the out-of-the-box architectural sample project that you might recognize with a few modifications, but for the most part, that's the project we're going to be working with today. Okay, so got my 3D view up. Let's start to talk about some of the expanded model capabilities. And that's going to include, I'm going to pull up right off the bat, my visibility graphics dialog, because we've got expanded model categories. So I'm in my model categories tab here, and as I scroll down, I'll start to see some new categories. Things like audiovisual devices. Scrolling down a little more, we've got food service equipment. We've got hardscape. I've got medical equipment. Where'd it go? There it is, up here at the top. So as I'm scrolling through these, you might start to think of, specific projects that these categories could really be relevant to. Personally, I can think of projects that I worked on that would really have benefited from these more specific model categories. Categories where, elements that would be part of these new categories would have been previously modeled as either generic models or specialty equipment. So you start to get just a huge chunk of your model that's in, grouped in those two categories. But now we've got more specific categories. A couple others that I really think are going to be helpful, kind of speaking a little personally here, but signage, I think that's going to be a big deal. Also, vertical circulation. So things like your elevators, your escalators. We've always had the stairs category, but vertical circulation now has its own category. Admittedly, families, your custom families that you've already got or firm libraries, families are likely already created with the more general categories. So it might take some time to implement these, but it's going to make scheduling much easier now that we have these more honed categories. And one other thing that I'm going to point out with this, I was playing around and realized this, I cancel out of this. Nope, don't need to save. And I've got this elevator here, and I'm going to open that up just to show you one thing. So I'll edit this family here. So I've just got this random elevator here out in my project, don't mind that, but I want to go up here and look at the category that this is. So this is an old elevator, just a standard family. You can see it's specialty equipment. And something I want to point out down here is actually something that's not there. So I'm going to switch to one of these new categories. So I'm going to switch it to vertical circulation, just reclassifying the family basically. And you'll notice something that pops up here, this enable cutting in views. So that wasn't there when it was specialty equipment. So that's something that I think is really going to be helpful for really getting the look, the look that you want, the look that is accurate, that's correct in your plans, in your sections, in your views. Just from personal experience, I put in so many, detail lines or dummy line work because things don't cut. But now, that's something that we might not need to do as much of. Okay. All right. So something that's actually I'm pretty excited about. Okay. So we talked about model categories. Let's talk about something in our 3D view is grids. We can see now. So 2021 allowed us to see our levels. So I can see my levels in there. I can select them. They highlight as planes through my model. But now if I look in the properties of my view, I've got this option for showing grids. Up pop all my levels, so I can pick which level these grids will be shown at. I'm going to pick the roof line just because it's going to be easy to see. I could even pick multiple levels if I wanted. And those pop in. I can see those. Whether it's in my, just my generic 3D view or my default 3D view or an ISO view, these are going to show up. I can highlight those, select them just like my levels. They pop up as those blue planes. I can see where my geometry is relative to that view. So kind of nice just for enhanced viewing there. Okay. Speaking of families, something else that's new, if I go up to my Insert tab, over here to the right-hand side, I've got this Load Autodesk Family button, and you see it's got that little cloud icon. The Autodesk Family now is in the cloud. So much is going with the cloud these days. This is also in the cloud. I think this is pretty helpful. It seemed like the link to the folder of families, either on my computer or, it just was always broken. So now we've got this in the cloud. It's up there. I've got filters that I can work with. I can scroll down, we'll make something, do something easy. I can go down to doors. It's going to filter that down and look at my doors. I can bring those in very easily. So just a quick thing here. Again, this is the Autodesk default library. Your company library or your custom families, you can save that kind of anywhere, but this is the out of the box default library. Okay. Those are component families. Let's talk a little bit about system families. And I mentioned walls, tapered walls. So I'm going to come in here, just put in a quick basic wall here. So 2021, and I'm going to make that so that it's a better height here. Let's change this. So 2021 allowed us to do slanted walls. So I've got my basic wall here. I can change that, make it, vertical wall, make it slanted. I can put in, my angle there. Okay, there we go. So I've got the slanted walls. I personally didn't use the slanted walls too much, but I know a lot of people were really excited about them. I personally think that tapered walls are going to be of more use. So I'm going to put in another wall here, and let me get my levels here right off the bat before I even draw this. Oops. Let me put this in. There we go. All right. Bear with me one second here, guys. Okay. So I've got my level, or my walls to the right levels, And instead of slanted, I can change that to tapered wall. I can indicate the angle right there, but I'm going to go into the type properties real quick to show you something. So this is just a basic concrete wall, and the way I can see this being a benefit is for maybe certain foundations, certain kind of earthwork projects. But in the structure of this wall, you've got this variable category. You have to make sure that's checked on the layers that you want to be able to be tapered. So I'm just working with this concrete wall, got that checked. I can indicate that in the type properties here. And I can make this a little more dramatic. So I can indicate that in the type properties, but I can also come in here for individual walls, override those, and change that information there. Okay. All right. So we've got tapered walls. Okay. Another thing, speaking of walls, and this one, I don't quite know, or I can kind of envision how this will be used, but I haven't played with this too much. But I think it will be a benefit of, in certainly like foundation plans. But if I go into my visibility graphics, so I went to my plan because you're not going to see this in like a 3D view. Went to my plan, I went to the visibility graphics, model categories tab, and if I scroll down to the walls category, you see you've got this option for hiding non-core layers. So basically anything that's not within the core of your wall can be hidden. You know, your gyp, your your finishes, etc. That can be hidden. Again, something that might be a benefit for like a foundation plan. I haven't played around with that too much. Really not much project work yet, but I think that can be a benefit in certain projects. Okay. So in touching on that feature actually brings me to a point that is going to come up frequently over the course of the next 20 minutes or so. That feature that I just pointed out, hiding the non-core layers, that is something that in previous versions of Revit, so I'm checking that here, in previous versions of Revit could technically be done, you know, albeit with a lot of workarounds, filters, etc. So in 2022, we've got tools for kind of just making life easier. We can do things in more simple ways, more, what's the word? Fast ways. That's not the word I was thinking of, but that's all right. You get the idea. So again, that point will come up a few times, that we're able to do things in Revit 2022 that are faster, easier. We don't have to use as many workarounds that we might have used in previous versions. Okay. All right. Something else I want to talk about, and I'm actually going to go back to my 3D view. Speaking of filters, I'm actually going to talk about filters now in relationship to phasing. So I've actually got, I'm going to go up to my phasing dialog here, because I'm going to open up my phasing dialog to show you I've got three phases in here. Pretty straightforward in the naming: existing, new construction, future. This could be applicable for a multi-phase project where you've got, you know, phase 1, phase 2, etc. In the past, in past versions of Revit, if we wanted to show future work, again, we probably had to use a lot of workarounds, putting views on top of each other, you know, making geometry transparent. Just, yeah, it's as troublesome as it sounds. But with 2022, now we've got some tools for showing future work. So what I've got here, actually I'm going to go to future, go show you. Oh, hold on 1 second here. Turn my filter on, and that's messing me up here. What I've got in here, I'm going to go to my visibility graphics, go up to my filters, And I've got this filter because I've got some solar panels in here that are meant to be installed in the future. So they're in that future phase. And I've made a filter here to be able to see these. So basically, I've got my solar panels. They are classified as electrical equipment. So I've said electrical equipment phase created is going to be equal to future. So they're the only thing in my future phase. So now, if I turn that on, and so you see those pop up over here. What I have to do though, in order to make that work, is come down here, and my current phase of the view is future. And then I have to set the phase filter to none in order for this to work. Okay. So this is an easy way to show your complete project with future work in there as well. And you can see I've got a hatch on there, a color on there to differentiate it. That's all set up in the filter. So moral of this story is you can incorporate phasing into your filters. So you might ask me, you know, does this render phase filters obsolete? That's a rabbit hole that we are not going to explore today. We're not going to get into that. That is an excellent question. Yeah, for another time. But this is a way to show future work easily, again, without workarounds. Okay. So you can incorporate that phasing information into your filters. Okay. Okay, so one more thing with our enhanced model, our enhanced modeling tools that kind of blurs the boundary between modeling and documentation, which we're going to go into next, has to do with our callouts. Okay. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to draw a callout, a new callout in, just a pretty basic one here. Okay. So I've got my new callout. It pops up in my project browser. If I go and delete the parent view of that callout, in previous versions of Revit, Revit would let you know that it's also going to delete any dependent views. In this case, it would be my callout. With this version of Revit, however, you get the option to make that callout view independent. So you can see it deleted my plan view, but I've still got that callout view available to me. So I think this is really going to be helpful, saving a lot of potential lost work. You know, details that have been made. You know, I haven't done any drafting or detailing over that, but you know, I can really see this being helpful with not losing work. People have put in hours detailing, and you know, somebody else comes in and starts deleting views and doesn't realize the implications. I think this can really save a lot of headaches. So headaches and heartaches. So, all right. Okay, so talked a little bit about enhanced modeling tools. Let's talk about better documentation tools. Okay. And the first thing I'm going to talk about with that has to do with revisions. So I'm going to open up my revisions dialog. In previous versions of Revit, you basically had two options with numbering for revisions. It could be either alphanumeric or numeric. Now we can customize our numbering. I'm going to do a new one here. So I think mostly this tool or this enhancement is geared toward some international standards, some permitting that require, you know, alphanumeric, but a certain format of numbering. But I think it can really be put to use even in the US, here in the US, whether you're numbering for different phases of the project, maybe, you know, bidding versus construction. Also, I know some people kind of ad hoc revisions to document design issues. So basically, and I'll do that now. I know it's not totally as the tool is intended, but you know, we all know that we don't always use it totally as it's intended. So maybe I'm gonna, this is gonna be for design issues. And I can come in here, I can decide what that's gonna be. You know, maybe it's gonna be alphanumeric, maybe my prefix is gonna be, you know, this is for a certain part of the project, you know, a certain phase. So I can do, you know, 1.1. I could put in a suffix, do this pretty simply, okay, and use that. And so now, you know, I can use that as my numbering system and maybe, you know, add in a few revisions here. You still have the option for doing per project or per sheet, whatever is applicable for your project. And then later on, you know, again, this is for design. Maybe later on when it actually gets to the actual point for revisions, I can, you know, do a new one and switch to, say, numeric, etc. Okay. So something that can be really, really helpful. Okay, so revision numbers. Let's talk about schedules. I'm going to open up one of my schedules here. Maybe this is a schedule of my walls. Pretty lengthy schedule, not really sure if it'll fit on one sheet. In previous versions of Revit, usually we would do kind of again, another workaround. We'd probably make separate schedules, maybe divided by level or you know, some other differentiator. But now we have the option up here to split and place that on the sheet. So I can click that, I can place that across multiple sheets, I can pick my sheets. You have the options down here to split evenly or customize that. I'm going to do it evenly, and I can place that on my sheets. So notice I'm placing it on sheet 106. I'll just come up here. We'll do this pretty quickly. I'm going to open up my other sheet here, actually, so that we can see both. Because you'll notice, I'm going to close my other views. Tile my windows. So I placed it on 106. It places it in the same spot, the other half, on the other sheet that I designated. Later on, if I go to move the schedule, so if I move this schedule, it doesn't automatically move the other schedule, so just something to keep in mind. But it does resize the schedule if I resize it in one view. So over here, if I, you know, resize this column, it's going to update in my on my other sheet. Right? So really handy. I don't have to worry about you know, splitting those up anymore. And you'll notice in the project browser, under the name of my schedule, it's got 1 of 2 and 2 of 2. Okay. So I could come in there if I didn't want them on 2 schedules. I could delete one of those schedules, and I still have my master schedule. Okay. Okay. So something that can be pretty handy. Let's talk. Yeah, we're going to talk a little more about scheduling. And to do that, I'm going to create a new schedule. So I'll go to my View tab, and I'm going to do new schedule. We're going to do a multi-category schedule. So something right off the bat. So a multiple category schedule. When you do multi-category schedules, you know, you tend to have a lot of available fields. You can search those parameters. You can also filter. So whether you want to use shared parameters, project parameters, etc., you can filter by discipline. So more tools for really, you know, again, making life a little easier just day to day. Okay. So I'm going to come in here and make this multi-category schedule. I'm just going to add a couple things here real quick. I'll add my family and type. I'm going to add the mark. And I'm going to come down here, and this is new. We can also add work sets to schedules now. Of course, this won't appear if your project is not work sharing enabled. You know, just to make that clear, because I actually couldn't figure out a few days ago as I was working why I couldn't add my work set to my schedule, and I realized the file wasn't work sharing enabled. So just a word to the wise. So we can add work sets to schedules now. So I envision this being really helpful for auditing. So you're probably not going to include this in your documentation, but as someone who manages projects and has to go in there and audit them, I see this as being much more helpful than using that, because before we had that little color coding, you know, our work sharing display settings, we color by work set. This, I think, is going to be much more helpful. We can see at a glance what families are on what work sets, or anything, what work set it's on. So we can add work sets to schedules. I'm going to go back into the properties of this schedule, because we look at our filters. So I'm up in the filter tab. We can now filter by family and type. So I'll just do this down here. I guess it doesn't really matter. We'll keep that as is. So this is something, again, that used to be accomplished by using workarounds and can now be done much more quickly, much more easily. Okay. I'm going to take that filter off because I'm going to show you. Yeah. So I know we're buzzing around pretty quick in our schedules, but I'm going to actually do one thing for my sorting and grouping. I'm going to sort by family. Do a header. There we go. So I put that mark category in. You know, of course, that's our number for our tagging. Because I'm going to come down here all the way, should be down here to the bottom. What do we got here? Now I can't find it, and I could filter. There they are. So now you can see we've got our mullions in there, and we can put a tag value in there. We can put a mark value. We can tag our mullions now. So definitely helpful in complex projects with complex curtain walls, a variety of mullion types. You know, you can schedule those, you can have those tagged. I can go back to my plan actually. I don't know if I have a curtain wall mullion or curtain wall tag loaded. Let's find out. They'll still get the point across. Yep, no curtain wall mullion tag loaded, but I could certainly load one and tag those. So we can do it as long as you have that tag loaded. Okay. So again, really helpful in complex projects with those curtain walls. You can see at a glance, you know, those different types with those different tags. Okay. Okay. Speaking of tags, let's do a couple of quick things with tags that can really help. So with our tags, we can rotate them. Actually, this is something that, again, small, but could probably be pretty helpful in some cases. So especially things like room tags that just take up a lot of area, and you know, you might not always have enough area to accommodate that tag. Maybe rotating that can help fit that in. All right. So maybe a little unconventional, but sometimes just has to be that way. Okay. I can also put multiple leaders on my tags. So here I've got a window tag. I can add a leader, and maybe just for the purposes of, again, minimal space on the drawing, or just wanting to keep things fairly clean while also being very explicit and very clear. If I've got this tag, I've got this option to add remove host. And so I can come down here and select, in this case, multiple windows, and it can indicate those multiple windows. And of course, I can change the kind of the way these leaders read, drag around the elbow, etc. But again, helpful for small spaces. If you were using a multi-category tag, and so, you know, if I try to, since I'm using a window tag, it's not going to let me choose anything that's not a window. But if I was using a multi-category tag and you picked, you know, maybe a couple pieces of furniture and a window and a couple other things that all didn't have the same information, it would just read varies in there. Again, this can be helpful for saving space, also for finishes. I think this can be helpful for finishes. So, okay. So that's some good stuff with documentation. Let's talk about sharing that documentation with the project, or project team. We need to get that information out, and a couple of things to do that, and one of those is pretty big. I'm going to go up to File, and I'm going to go to Export, because we now finally have a PDF exporter in Revit. Again, something that could be accomplished with workarounds, in this case, third-party apps, etc., now is in Revit. I actually heard something or read something recently that this used to be in Revit many versions ago, like I don't even know how many years ago, and I do not remember it. At that time, we were kind of teaching ourselves Revit, so maybe I just kind of blanked, but apparently it used to be in Revit, but anyway, it's back. So this is going to look pretty familiar in terms of when you were printing PDFs, but a couple major differences. So I'm going to select the sheets that I want. We'll do it in session. I'm going to do just my sheets. All right, so we'll get all of these. Okay, so I'm gonna export all my sheets, and I'm gonna make sure that this combine selected views into a single PDF file is unchecked. I want these all to be single PDFs, and I'm gonna go into this little setup button, and this is where I can pick the naming standards of this. So you can see from the parameter types, we've got, we can pick from view parameters, sheet parameters, or project to information parameters. I'm going to pick from my sheets. And I'm going to come down, I'm going to use pretty simple, straightforward naming and numbering. I'm just going to do the number and the name separated by maybe an underscore. There we go. You could put revision information in there. You see those parameters, etc. So what's really great about this is that the naming can be standardized in the model, so that the naming of the file doesn't change based on which team member is making the PDFs. Because everyone has their own unique naming rationale, and that might depend on the day of the week. But this can be standardized. In the model, it's set up. It is sticky, so it will stay in place. But yeah, it's really great. Kind of leaves me speechless. So hit OK. I think we've got everything here. Again, standard options like what you had when you were printing PDFs. I'm going to zoom 100%. Got centered. There is this option here for using the sheet size for the print or the export. I haven't experimented too much with this. I think it's based on the title block, but so if you were printing multiple sheets that had different sizes, I believe it's based on the title block, but I haven't experimented too much with that. But all right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and export this. I think I got everything that I need. Actually, I'm going to change this location. There we go. And I think that's good. So we'll go ahead and export that. Nope. Hold on, let me go back here. This is very anticlimactic. Come back here, make sure I've got the right ones. Sheet number, sheet name. Got that. There. That's my folder. Sorry guys, I don't know what that's doing. I did this earlier. Sorry, this is very anticlimactic. Well, shoot. All right, let me do it one more time. And let's maybe just we'll uncheck all these. there, and we'll get my sheets. All right, got those. That's great. Okay, select those. Try this one more time. I don't want you to have to just take my word for it. Sheets, making sure I've got the right parameters. Move that up. Doesn't really matter a whole lot. Sheet number, sheet name, that's good. And everything else I think is good. Yep. Yes. All right, I think I just had something unchecked. So you'll see, and I'll pull up this folder right here. So you see it's creating those PDFs. It's not going to be prompting me to name each one. So I am willing to bet there are some of you out there that have spent hours making PDFs, like literal hours making PDFs or actual hours making PDFs, naming them. So this is, I think, going to be great, saving tons of time. So it's making those PDFs, got that going. All right. Okay, so a couple last things here. While that's making my PDFs, it's taking a little bit longer than I planned, but that's all right. Finally got that working. All right, there we go. Got that done. Good. Got those PDFs. So see, super fast. Even though it was what, only 7 PDFs, still very quick. And so you can imagine how that translates to, 100 drawing sets. Okay. All right. So one more thing about kind of sharing information, getting project information out. Up in the Collaborate tab, over to the right-hand side, you've got the Shared Views option. So this can be really nice, really helpful for project team members who either aren't working in Revit or can't access Revit right now for whatever reason, maybe out in the field on their tablet, whatever reason they can't access. You can share these 2D views. So I'll go ahead and start the process for sharing this view. Okay. This should be pretty quick here. We'll sync that. It's a pretty straightforward process, not a whole lot of bells and whistles here, but really helpful in its simplicity. So new shared view, I can do that. I'm gonna actually name it the first, or name it the same thing. So it's not gonna overwrite views. So you see this one over here that I've already created, first floor plan. I'm gonna name this the same thing. And it's not gonna prompt me to rename it. So this is what pops up, extracting that shared view. But once that's done, and I'm actually gonna work with this one that I've already got because just for the sake of time. So I've got that here. You can see a preview. I can also view this in the browser. Let me pull up my browser here. So just working in Chrome, but you can use your browser of choice. Hopefully this will pop up a little faster. As that's popping up, there it is. So you've got that in your browser. You also have even some markup tools, so you can put markups in there, and that will save to that view. And as I said, you can send this, or you can get this information to project team members out in the field or wherever they don't have access to Revit, because you'll see down here that there is a copy link, so you can email that and you can access that very easily. So pretty simple tool, but can be very helpful. All right, last couple ones I've got here. Let me pull these up. So I keep mentioning, things that make life easier and just kind of better your quality of life. A couple last things, and a couple that I'm actually really excited about. One of which, if I go up to my Manage tab, this is still working here. We'll just let that go. And maybe I'm auditing a model and cleaning up a model. Go up to my Purge Unused dialog. You'll notice right off the bat that it's a little larger than in versions previous. So that's helpful, but I can also resize it. Again, a small thing, but really helpful. If you've been, working on model cleanup, you know that it's just a pain that you couldn't expand that dialogue. So now we have the capability to expand some of these dialogues. So I think that's super helpful. Another thing that might be really helpful, if I go up to my project parameters, I have the option now to search. So both search and filter, similar to WinR schedules. So I obviously don't have very many in the way of parameters in this particular project, but those parameter lists I know get real lengthy real quick in most projects. So now you have the option to search through those, find things pretty quick. Okay, so again, a couple tools that seem small at first, but I think they're going to be really big in the way of just being helpful. Okay. All right. So I think we covered a lot of those. Any questions? I'll take a look. The question panel, I don't know if, let's see here. Mackenzie, did you sort through those? It's not letting me expand that. Sorry guys, I'm having technical difficulties.
Can you see it now?
I can see it, but I can't expand it.
Next to the X.
Let's see. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay. Will a recording be provided afterwards? Yes, there will. This is recorded, and you will get an email notification when that's posted, usually within a couple days. With shared views, can marked up views be sent back to Revit with the ability to see drawn markings on the view in Revit? Great question. And the answer is yes. Short answer is yes. And you might have seen, I had this view here, and I actually just put it, so I created that yesterday, and I put a markup on there, and it came back up. It updated that in Revit, so you can see that. Let's see if this will do pretty quickly. There it is. Okay. So pretty dumb markup, but I think it gets the point across. Okay. In Revit 2022, will there also be an or clause in the schedule filter, not just and? That's a really good question. I don't know right off. Let's check here. Let me check and Henry, you can make sure I'm answering your question. Let me actually just go back to my schedule and go back to my filters. Filter. Let's see here. Or clause in the schedule filter. So it looks like these are your options. Well, actually, let's do this and family. So it doesn't look like there is. Let me know if that answered your question. What about the reload sync speed in big projects, please? I don't know if I could give you a straightforward answer right off the bat. Of course, that's going to depend on a lot, connection speed, etc. Health of the model. I can check on that and find out, but nothing that I can give you specifically right now, because it depends on a lot, as I'm sure you can tell. Let me go up here. So we got what's new in MEP? Great question. Since my specialty is architecture, I did focus more on the kind of non-discipline things or the architecture things. I can check to see if we're going to do kind of an MEP focused one. There are some new MEP features. I was playing around with them a little bit, but I'm just not the one to speak expertly on them just yet. In share views, is that a live view that will be updated when the changes are made? So I don't believe it is a live view, and then I think you're asking if, say, model elements are moved, if the view will update. I don't believe that is a live view. I'll test that out after, because that's a great question. I'll test that out, but I don't believe it is. Let's see here. Let's see. Is it possible to have the families of the company loaded in the cloud also, or only the load Autodesk family? So at that particular location, I believe it is only the Autodesk library, and that's why I think they put in their load Autodesk family to be pretty explicit. Of course, there are many other avenues for, you know, storing your company library or custom families online in the cloud, but that particular link is just for the Autodesk out of the box library. You guys are good on the questions. I appreciate it. Let's see here. In Revit 2022, will the program actually use our graphics cards to speed up calculations instead of just the CPU? That is a great question. I don't know right off the bat. I can find out, but I don't know. I'll have to find out. Let's see here. Is there a line type that we can create that can be used in the project but doesn't show up when we make a PDF? A line type, I am 90% certain that the answer is no. You know, with Revit, what you see, it's not. I think where you're going with this is kind of similar to AutoCAD. You had that no plot layer. Revit's not AutoCAD. You know, you can use reference planes, reference lines, but as far as a line type, I'm 90% certain, actually probably 95% certain that no, there is not. Right. Yeah, I feel like I'm giving you guys not the answers you want to hear. What about add-ins? Have it consist of inbuilt add-ins? There's some with add-ins. I haven't delved too much into the add-ins, and kind of for the sake of time today, we had to kind of pare things down. I will check on that. I need to do a little bit, again, a little bit more playing around with that, but I can't give you too much in the way of add-in information at this point. Let's see here. I'll do a couple more here. I know we're running up on time. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. In 2022, have they added a strike-through option to text objects? Actually, that is a really good question. Let's actually check that because I am intrigued as well. So let me just open up a. I want to say they have, but I might be thinking of something else. So let me just go to a new legend here. And we'll draw on some text here. And I think I did not see that there. So these looks like are our options. I thought maybe in the type properties, Underline. No, doesn't look like it. So Revit's getting better in the word processing, but it's still not a word processing program. All right. Okay, guys, I think we're running pretty close to time. So I really appreciate the questions. There will be the recording afterwards, and if you want to get a hold of us, if you have more questions for me, you can contact us. We've got the information up there on the screen. And I really appreciate your time today. I'll leave this up for a little bit if you want to jot that information down, but really appreciate your time today. Hope you're able to work in Revit 2022 soon. And thank you again. Have a great day.